Wisconsin. To Congressman Steil, to all my fellow Americans from near and far, it is great to be back in the Badger State. But I'm here for one reason and one reason only, and that is that Wisconsin and America need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. It's still early in the day and you still got that done. I'm really, great job. Hey, and while we're at it, we need Janesville to send a rising star back to Washington, D.C. in a new Republican majority. We need Congressman Brian Steil back in the U.S. House of Representatives. Isn't he something? What a great young guy. What a great young guy. Had big shoes to fill here in Janesville, and he's already arrived in Washington, D.C. and emerged as one of the great conservative voices in our nation's capital. Would you join me in just thanking his mom and dad? How proud are you? Stand up and take a bow, will you, folks? I'll tell you what. What a great family. You know, before I get started, I know I'm speaking for everybody here when I express our support and our prayers for all of those affected by the wildfires out west and those that are in the path of Hurricane Sally. You'll be glad to know President Trump approved a major disaster declaration for the state of California in less than 24 hours. He'll be on the ground on the West Coast today in California. He's meeting with Governor Newsom and emergency officials. FEMA is also on the scene there and in the Gulf. And all of those that are in harm's way in the Gulf or on the West Coast, know that you're in our prayers and know that we're going to stay with you every step of the way until we build back bigger and better than ever before. That's our promise. You know, 4 years ago, a movement was born, a movement of everyday Americans from every walk of life. I saw it everywhere that I traveled across the country then and in every day since. I mean, the truth is, here in Wisconsin, you believed we could be strong again. You believed we could be prosperous again. You believe America could be respected again. You said yes to President Donald Trump in 2016, and I know in 50 days from today, Wisconsin's going to say yes to 4 more years of President Donald Trump in 2020. And the road to victory runs right through Wisconsin. I mean, look how far we've come because of the confidence that you placed in this president and in our team. 4 years ago, we inherited a military hollowed out by devastating budget cuts, an economy struggling to break out of the slowest recovery since the Great Depression. Terrorism was on the rise around the world, and we witnessed a steady assault on our most cherished values and liberties. But in 3 short years, we rebuilt our military. We revived our economy. We cut taxes, rolled back red tape, unleashed American energy, fought for free and fair trade, and the American economy came roaring back in those first 3 years. Wow. And this president kept his promise. We've appointed more than 200 judges to our federal courts at every level, and I'm here to tell you they are all principled conservatives who will support the God-given liberties enshrined in our Constitution, like the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, and the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. And beyond all of those high ideals, I couldn't be more proud to serve as Vice President to a president who has stood without apology for the sanctity of human life. Sure. So under President Trump's leadership, we've stood for security. We've stood for our liberties. We've stood for prosperity and our highest values. And President Donald Trump has stood every day with the men and women who serve in law enforcement, and we will stand with them for 4 more years. You know, the President and I know that the men and women who serve in law enforcement are some of the best people in this country. They literally put their lives on the line every day. They count our lives more important than their own. And those who serve in law enforcement deserve the respect of every American every day. Tragically, this weekend, we all witnessed another round of attacks on those who wear the uniform. 2 brave sheriff's deputies in Los Angeles were literally shot in cold blood, while some stood on the street corner opposite of the incident and laughed. And we're actually told that protesters gathered outside the hospital and chanted, "We hope they die." You know, one of those sheriff's deputies, I learned, is a mother of a 6-year-old. The other sheriff's deputy is just 24 years old. They were both on the job for less than a year. And I want to tell them and their families and all those who love and cherish our law enforcement that we are so glad to hear they are on the road to recovery. They will remain in our hearts and in our prayers. But I have to tell you, the President and I will always support the right of Americans to peaceful protest. But rioting and looting is not peaceful protest. Burning businesses is not free speech. Bringing violence against innocent civilians or those in law enforcement must stop, and it must stop now. Those who do such things will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And you've seen this president's leadership up close, not far from here. When rioting and looting broke out in Kenosha, Wisconsin, President Trump sent in 200 federal law enforcement officers, worked with your courageous state and local law enforcement, and ended the violence. In fact, over the last month, we launched what's called Operation Legend. Literally, we've deployed over 1,000 federal law enforcement officials to our major cities that have been seeing violent protests. And as we stand here today, working with state and local law enforcement officials, I'm proud to report they've made over 2,000 arrests of violent protesters all across the country. We are going to have law and order in every city, in every state in this country for every American of every race and creed and color. So help us God.